Good evening and welcome to another edition of SIDEBOOB Cinema, your podcast within a podcast. I've got AJ, I've got Jonathan Astro. How the fuck's your day been so far?
Good, aggressive. Look, why don't we get the howl? Do you only do the howl when you don't do the intro?
No, I've got a different, more cinematic howl that I did a couple of weeks ago.
You didn't think it through, did you? You were like,
no, I did.
Wait, no, but you did. So you were going to do the howl and you didn't.
No, I've done like the howl, then the cinematic howl, then the howl, then this one's going to have like the more cinematic howl. So I don't know. It's one on, one off.
Okay, all right.
I
Okay.
like it.
Anyway, I don't think you should cut any of that out. Leave that for the listeners, people there. Well, in answer to your question, I'm good. This is the last of our Spooktacular this year.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Well, if you go on Instagram, people, it's getting to the point where I want to be like William Shatner and say, okay, like, the party pooper, and just say, that's enough. That's enough. Okay.
Well, we have on the horizon, Triple Xmas.
Oh,
That sounds great. Yes. We should totally watch old school porn movies from the 70s.
I thought you were talking about Vin Diesel.
Oh.
So where we only watch the return of Xander Cage. That's not a good idea.
Awkward.
Well, actually, it is Halloween, and around my area, people have taken this very, very seriously. I don't know why. I have no idea.
Did you buy
why.
candy?
I did. I was out of fear.
Good.
Because I was like, I just didn't want it to be awkward, like where the kids go, treat, go treat. But we bought all this candy, and I'll say, just a bunch of chocolate and whatever. No one came. And they just walked past, and I think it was just a big ruse for Katie to fill up the house with chocolate.
Oh, so you didn't run after kids or anything?
No.
Like
I think that might
that's
get
good.
me in a bit of trouble. But
Well, do you remember what Halloween used to be like back in our day, before anyone in Australia used to do it? I think I went trick-or-treating once as a kid and came back with like one apple. It was grim. It was
because
grim.
baby boomer parents hate Halloween.
They do.
They do.
They hate Halloween.
That's true.
Like, even now, I'm sure they'd be like, "Oh, bloody American, that's bloody American." And you go, they're sitting there with an Apple iPhone, wearing nice Nikes, sitting in a fucking American car, and you just go, you don't care about any of this. Why do you care about Halloween so much? So anyway, it was weird. So that's Halloween. Tonight, Demons, 1985, Lamberto Bava. I always like to know, just out of interest, is this the first time you guys have seen this movie?
First viewing.
This is maybe my second or third viewing. Yeah. Went through a period a few years ago of checking out some Italian cinema. So
yeah, all right. Okay. Yeah, I've seen it a few times over the years. I think Sheila might have even seen it back in the day. Like
really?
when it sort of was on the new release shelf.
Oh, wow.
And it would have been quite a terrifying experience, I imagine. All right. Well, I've got a synopsis for you. Now, try and stay with me. I don't know why this is the longest synopsis for a movie where not much happens. I'm not quite sure. You're just gonna have to stick with me. Okay. So it's an average night in Berlin. Cheryl, a young music student, is given a complimentary golden ticket from a scary-looking man in a half-steel mask to attend a movie premiere at a refurbished cinema called the Metropole. She convinces her friend Kathy to join her, and the girls pop along to have a fun night out. So the other attendees, it's quite a diverse group. There's a pure-hearted young couple. There's a pimp and his two, what do we call them, bottom bitches? AJ, is that what they're called? Or?
That is correct.
Okay. And a blind man and his horny niece, along with many others.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Look, save it. Just save it. Okay. So one of these prostitutes goofs around and tries on what she thinks is a promotional demon mask, for the film that they're all going to see, which looks awfully similar to the mask worn by the guy who was handing out the invites. Anyway, she gets a small cut on her face from the mask. And everyone takes their seats and the movie begins. Cheryl and Kathy, that's our two girls who've attended this premiere, are also in the sights of a couple of preppy boys who sit next to them and begin to get a bit handsy. The film on screen is a typical horror film with some silly teens exploring an old tomb when perhaps they shouldn't. They find an old book with another mask, which again looks a lot like the one we've seen before. The teen within the film gets cut on his face. And around about now, our main prostitute goes to the bathroom to attend to her own wound in real life of the film, which won't stop bleeding. In the bathroom, the wound gets bad real quick and it pulses and explodes with ooze. The other prostitute goes to check on her wounded friend and is horrified to find that she's become a fully fledged demon, complete with glowing slime and jagged teeth. The demon attacks the prostitute, slashing up her neck before she escapes. This second prostitute is now almost immediately starting to turn into a demon. She bursts through the movie screen into the packed cinema, and that's when chaos really ensues. The crowd being randomly attacked as they scramble to the doors to exit. They're horrified to discover that the exits have been bricked up magically, so there's no escape. So here we go. The pimp takes charge and tells everyone that the movie is to blame for the curse, that they're all suffering, and he leads everyone to the projection booth and they smash up the projectors, but this does nothing. This is where we cut to some street toughs cruising the streets of Berlin, doing coke and sort of needling each other. We sort of cut back and forth between those people and the people in the cinema. Our pimp is killed and the crowd barricades themselves in the stalls, but it's no use and the demons get him once again. It's on and pretty much everyone is killed by the demons. Meanwhile, our street toughs have also infiltrated the cinema and sort of picked off one by one. Cheryl and preppy George turn out to be our hero and heroine. George actually turns out to be a bit of an alpha male, and he has his moment when he rides around the theatre on a motorcycle, slashing up the demons with a samurai sword. Kathy and George escape to the roof after a helicopter inexplicably smashes through the ceiling, and they duke it out with the steel mask-wearing guy from the start. They kill him and discover that, unfortunately, the world has been overrun with demons. A gun-toting family rescues George and Kathy, but it turns out Kathy got bit and she's now also a demon. She gets shot with a shotgun. The end. That's the end of the movie.
That's the end of the podcast. Good night.
So,
what wasn't Cheryl the final girl?
oh yeah, sorry, I fucked up. All right, yeah. Cheryl is the final girl.
Okay.
I love that you were. I blanked out, and you were listening so intently to that synopsis. You're like, hang about. Wasn't it Cheryl? And it's like, yes, it was.
It helps that Cheryl's super hot.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
she's hot. That's true. This is true facts. But I don't know why it felt like I needed to cover it in such detail, but there it is. So what was AJ, we should start with you. What was your hot take?
I really liked it. I had a great time.
That's great.
I had a lot of fun. I liked the green slime. I just loved it.
A real sort of party horror movie.
Yeah, I loved the freaks, the guys driving around.
Oh, that was the street
that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I was kind of didn't know where it was going to go at the start, and I actually felt that way a few times during the movie.
Like the people but making the movie were a bit dangerous.
Yeah, like
They didn't
the
know what was going on.
helicopter. What?
Yeah.
That's one of those things where you feel like they had a helicopter left over in another movie or something, and they're like,
Seriously?
Yeah.
just around the way they're shooting a war film with a helicopter. We can get that helicopter, and it's like, yeah, all right.
Like I thought the street toughs were going to save everyone,
Yes,
and then they didn't, and then all of a sudden we see a helicopter.
yeah.
How did that helicopter even? Because it's implied that it crashes, but it seems to crack the ceiling very slowly, like it's been parked up there for a long time and it just falls through.
Well, yeah, okay.
It should have come through in one blast, you know?
Yeah, it should have. But again, I feel like there's a couple of columns in this movie. You know, there's stuff they took so seriously and was detailed and really cool. And then there was a lot of stuff that was, you know, half-baked or not really thought out.
Yeah.
Or they didn't really care about it. And I feel like how that helicopter goes in that part, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the stamp of Argento on this film.
Yes.
You know, I mean, all of Argento's films are like this, where there's amazing detail put into certain aspects, but then there's just certain things that are just so shitty about them that in a way that makes them almost more memorable, you know.
So for context, we're talking about Dario Argento, who's a famous horror producer and director from Italia, and he is, you know, although he's the producer and just one of the co-writers on this film, it's sort of one of those situations where you really feel his presence on this film. You know, even though Lamberto Bava, another director, has directed it and, you know, sort of had the main duties here, you really do feel it still feels like an Argento movie for some reason. You know, maybe it's a lot of his collaborators are in it and whatnot, like the music and things like that.
Yeah, his daughter's in it too.
Yes, Fioria. Argento.
She plays Hannah.
Yes, Argento famously, you know, casts his daughters in his films, and the most awkward one is in a film called Phantom of the Opera, and Asia Argento is in it, and Dario Argento's directing it, and there's a scene where the lead guy, like Julian Sands, I think, is playing the Phantom or whatever. I think that's the scene. Anyway, it just turns out that what we've got is Argento behind the camera filming his daughter getting railed.
Yeah.
And you're a bit like, and you're just sitting there squirming in your seat going, oh, they do it differently in Europe.
Yeah.
You know? Dude, he's just proud of his daughter.
Oh.
It's awkward stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So yes, Argento, I feel like this film is it's a strange film. I think, AJ, what you said is correct. It's very fun. It's for me, it's a triumph of attitude. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's got just like a lot of Argento films. It preferences feelings and emotion over logic, and that's why his best films are so scary and so interesting. Is that, you know, sometimes he'll just go, I don't really care, you know, about the logic. I like the imagery, or I like, you know, and this movie does that too. It prefers imagery over exposition, although there is a lot of shitty exposition. It's the reason we get probably one of the best scenes a couple of the images stick in your mind, like that gang of demons that like sort of coming up a ramp with glowing eyes, you know, or the motorcycle scene, which I think is just.
I love the scene that leads up to the girl breaking through the cinema screen.
Yes.
I love all that.
Well, originally they said, and this was maybe in some of the material you sent over, they said that they'd heard that the Purple Rose of Cairo, Woody Allen films, coming out the same year, which is one of Woody Allen's best films. Similar theme of you know, something on a screen coming off the screen, you know, out of the cinema world into the real world. And so when they heard that, they sort of changed this movie. They were going to have the demons like literally come off the screen.
Oh.
But then they went, no, let's not do that. And so they just,
Too hard basket.
So then we get this strange mask business.
Yeah.
You know, like where, yes.
I don't know. I think maybe they should have stuck with the original idea.
Yeah. 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 That is.
There's a famous Buster Keaton film. I can't remember what it is, where he comes out of the screen a lot.
Oh yeah, what's it called? I think The Projectionist or something like that. Or,
yeah.
Yes, and he's sort of traveling in that way. Very different from demons.
Yes.
Different kind of film from Demoni. Actually, did you guys watch this? I have to check. Did you watch it in English or Italian?
Yeah, I watched it dubbed. It was amazing.
Yes.
Oh, really?
That's how I watched it too, because it was shot in English.
Oh,
was
right.
it? Oh,
Because
I watched it with subtitles.
No, like I knew this was going to come up, and I think that's good in a way, because you can give us maybe a slightly different perspective. But because I think your instinct is right. Like normally I would be like, you know, I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm like, why the hell would I watch a dub when it's, you know, an Italian film? But this was shot in English, and you can see people speaking English. And, you know, I don't know, for some reason I've seen it in English a bunch of times, and I just don't think it's as important as, you know, Fellini's 8.5, you know, to be watching in Italian. but you could, because the lines in the dub is the best. Like the lines in the dubs are just great. Because I mean, Italy has a different relationship with dubs. Like they, you know, for a very long time. I don't know if they do it now, but you know, for the longest time, they just dubbed their movies in post. So all the movies that we love of theirs, whether it's 8.5 or Fistful of Dollars, or it doesn't really matter what we're talking about. They were all dubbed, and you just see people's mouths not syncing up with the words at all in Italian or whatever, and it's always given them this weird edge. They're sort of like they don't really care, and what it's allowed them to do is to have people like Clint Eastwood in their movies, or you know, to sort of create. Their attitude is it's a realm of imagination. It's like a shadow play. What's the difference?
Yeah,
I've always loved that about the Italians. You know what I mean? Like they just don't give they don't give a fuck.
No, they don't care.
Whereas that friend, you know, who's like, oh, did you see in the background there, Harrison Ford's mouth didn't match up with what he was saying. That guy's different. He doesn't understand about imagination. Okay? The loser.
Do you think that has something to do with the European market as well? That they could essentially dub it in any language for different markets and stuff? Yeah.
I just get the feeling that this film feels like an international film. It's you know, Italian film shot in Berlin, you know, with actors from all around, like that very memorable first zombie woman. She is like American, but her pimp is like Italian. He apparently they said he couldn't speak English. I mean, to be frank with you, if there's any language learners listening to this, don't fret, because Lamberto Bava's English is whack. Okay,
come on, it's the Dolby system.
Yes. Oh, that's my quote. I was going to talk about that quote.
What's the quote?
Oh, the screams sound real. Come on, baby. It's the Dolby system.
Great stuff.
I like that we both quoted it. Oh, and of course I wrote down Snow in the Valley.
When is that from?
When they're in the car.
Oh, yes.
With the razor blade.
That scene was hot.
Yeah,
that was.
Even though she, not so.
You think she's
so
dog?
hot.
Dog.
A little bit.
Oh, I don't think she had an interesting look. Or maybe it's because she was up for it. Maybe the rule is if you're up for it, you go up a few points.
She should have been out of Gummo. That's how trash she looks. They all looked a bit NQR.
Yeah. So true.
Wasn't it weird how he was snorting the Coke from a Coke can through a straw?
No, but the filmmakers would have thought that was really funny. They would have
and I did enjoy it, so they were right.
So, you know, they're like, you're doing Coke in a Coke can.
there are a lot of Coke cans in this film, I thought.
Yes.
It's the height of that 80 of Coke's dominance in the 80s, you know, like just ubiquitous.
Coke machine was amazing.
Yeah.
Old school.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It was real old school.
What I need to ask, what is the deal with the Cinema Usher? Did I miss something? Like, was she a demon from the start, or just a fucking weirdo?
Thought. And you know what? I wrote down Astro would have been totally into her.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely.
Because she's a ranger.
The naughty Usher who was like, had big crazy hair, and she was in everyone's business.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you're making out, she was like, you didn't know whether she hated it or she was into it, and then like she seemed a bit of a headmistress.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then there was a point where she just became part of the rabble.
I know.
Gets killed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought she was going to be like, well, she works there, and presumably, if the blind guy's right, it's the cinema itself that is cursed, perhaps. Then she's sort of an agent of that, but we don't really get much beyond her bizarreness. She was very Suspiria.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just someone who you just go like, well, everyone in Suspiria is like that. The guy, the piano guy, everyone who works at the ballet school, like they're all like she walks down the hallway and there's the person like chopping meat, and everyone's bizarre. So she just felt like that and hot.
and also. Is the blind guy an Argento thing? I feel like it is. It seems to. I know there's a blind guy in Suspiria, but there's blind guys in other films of his.
Yeah, well, I guess it's the idea. I mean, it's just that old thing of the blind prophet. They want to love and all
But
that.
this blind guy didn't seem to know what was going on.
Well, he certainly didn't know that his niece was getting railed.
Railed by
Yeah.
Italian George Costanza.
That's I love
pay
that
that.
the most.
Yeah.
I love it when like some chick in a movie is just like getting hot and heavy with just a disgusting guy who looks like he's doing your taxes.
That's
And
exactly right.
and you just go like, AJ, when you see that, do you see it just as like just the contempt from the filmmakers? Is it them just saying, "This is what I think"?
I was just confused. She was really attractive.
But it doesn't have to be, Channing Tatum.
No. But come on.
This guy was like a friend of the producers.
He was a roach.
So anyway, that was the whole thing. It was like they like the joke of the cinema of the well, I think it's not a joke because I think blind people do go to the cinema, but they're like, oh yes, the blind guy going to the cinema with his niece because he says my niece or something.
Oh, really?
At one
Because
point. I thought it was his wife initially. I had to piece this together, and then there is something great about like the guy's just sitting down next to the niece, the gross guy, and then they're just macking on straight away, and then they go up the back and really get hot, and he's calling out for her, and they're just getting hot, and then the demon comes out and puts a rope between them and like ties them together, and they're going, "Whoa," and they're doing like tongue waggling, blood gushing over each other, going, "Whoa."
it was epic.
And you just go, oh my God. So that was a sort of a narrative, like a micro narrative, of sort of gross love.
that ends in like a blood orgy.
Yeah, because then he gets thrown off and hung, the guy. That's quite an image.
Well deserved too.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, the cinema's quite impressive itself. Like that, it was shot in an old disused cinema on the outskirts of Rome. That was actually being wrecked, and it was going to be turned into a new shopping mall development. And they could basically do whatever they wanted in there, which is cool. I mean, it seems like they did whatever they wanted. They tore up all the seats, and
it's a bank now.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, they say that in the commentary. But yeah, it's a beautiful building, and it makes you long for, just that, again, that collective experience of going to the movies. But also, there's nothing quite like going into the movies in a great old cinema, And I used to do that a lot when I first moved to Melbourne. Go to the Astor Cinema there, which had the last of its golden era. They'd play these beautiful old movies and. Just great Art Deco interior and, big staircase, like, the Shining style bathroom and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the exterior still exists though, like the actual Berlin cinema that was the exterior is still there.
Yes.
But the interior was shot in a cinema in Rome.
Yes.
So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you can still see it. I don't know if it's still a cinema, but the building still stands in Berlin.
I thought that the Berlin thing was interesting. Like I had so many questions initially. I got some answers along the way, but initially I was like, why is like Germany sort of Argento's Badlands? Like because I don't know. I'm a colonial know nothing. So I don't know anything. I don't know anything about Europe, really. I did like Europe though, but I don't when I went there. But I don't know anything about it. So I don't know what the relationship between Italy and Germany is like, and what I guess they say on the because Suspiria is set in Germany too. So it's not just a one-off. Now they talk about this movie being set in Germany for a couple of reasons. One, they say it's the sort of the birth of horror cinema is in Germany. That is true. So you sort of Caligari and whatnot, all the German expressionist films. But this is more compelling. They say that like it was sort of a rebuilt city, and in Berlin and very to them very cold and I guess it has a different feeling. Like it's a very new city, I would imagine, but quite built up. Ricky, have you been to Berlin?
No, I haven't been to Berlin, unfortunately. I've been to Germany, but not to Berlin. Yeah, I think because it got the shit bombed out of it in World War II, that there doesn't really exist the old hundreds of year old sort of buildings that you see in other parts of Europe and in Rome and places like that. But I did read that Argento liked the fakeness of it. He reckoned the newly built up city gave it a fakeness and an added dimension, he says. So I don't know whether we see enough of the city to get an idea of that, but I guess
it gives me a good feeling though. I love those exteriors. I don't know what it is. It's maybe it's because I'm a child of the 80s, and so to me, seeing those streets and all those signs and neon and in that international city is very exciting, and it's looks quite alive. Like
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get that in a lot of other movies, like to break it up like that.
I felt like, it really added something, and I guess they needed something as well to cut away from. How much green ooze and slime can you deal with? You need to cut away and watch that chick with the blonde hair get, lightly menaced. With cocaine between her titties.
Well, there's the film they're actually watching on screen. There's that bit where the blonde chick's trapped in the tent, and the killer's like ripping the knife through the tent, and just the way she's lying there screaming, it's like she's just about to get nailed. Like she's not like, she hasn't jammed herself right against the opposite side of the tent, and she's not in any sort of defensive stance at all.
No.
But that's why we're talking about sort of the thing that attracts us to these Argento movies, and these because this is a reinterpretation of sort of an American genre or whatever, So that they're so weird and wonderful. That's why we love their westerns, is because they don't resemble. They're more than the American ones. And they're weird and wonderful. And these horror movies are the same. There's just strange choices at every turn. Like casting's bizarre. The acting's bizarre. Yeah. And it's like, it's them. But you get a sense. No, but there's this confidence with the way they've written and directed it as well. They don't care about what people think. Even the commentary, you got to listen to the commentary. There's like a reviewer guy or whatever, and Lamberto Bava and a bunch of other people, the VFX guy. The way they're all talking is such a great example of the way Europe is different. They don't give a fuck about anything. They say stuff like, they'll say stuff like, one guy goes, about the main zombie lady. He goes, the black one. Yes. Oh, yes. She looks like a porno star. And you just go, you guys don't care, do you? They're just so confident, they're untouched. And I think they were and always will be untouched by, whatever's going on in America right now.
Yeah. Did you think the first demon looked a lot like old Greg?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm old Greg.
It's the
That's
hair.
amazing.
Because old Greg's got that from the Boosh.
Mighty Boosh. Yeah, the Mighty Boosh.
That has to be in the promos, side by side.
Yes, it does.
Did look like old Greg.
Well, I think they both look like Rick James, maybe. That's what it is.
Yes. Again, the hair.
Yeah. But I didn't initially even clock that the black guy was a pimp and he had two prostitutes with him, because they're just, the way they're dressed is just like walk down the middle of Fitzroy, on a Saturday night when it's not pandemic times, and you'll see all sorts of weird get up, So I just thought, it's just, a couple of weirdos, a couple of freaks and geeks.
Fair, Most people were pretty weird in the cinema.
Well, what did you think of the two preppy guys? Were they on the AJ hotness scale?
George and Ken.
George and Ken.
George and Ken.
George is our main guy. Ken is
Yeah.
number 2 with the jumper over the shoulders.
They saw an opportunity. They went for it, and it paid off.
Yeah, like good businessmen. Did you think they were attractive men?
They weren't bad.
Okay.
I thought Ken was a bit of a creepo. He's the guy that says it's the Dolby system.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Well, he like George is just coincidentally sat next to Cheryl, but Ken's the one that goes for the big move. He like gets up out of his chair, moves next to Kathy, Cheryl's frigid friend, and really goes for it.
Yeah, but Italian blokes don't give a fuck.
Nah.
Like they say what they feel,
Right. No, I think you're right.
You're totally right.
And they're aggressive too. They aggressively pursue women. And something makes me think that a lot of the women kind of like it.
Oh.
Well, we can get a poll perhaps on that. Maybe can get back to us on Ricky's cultural insights of Italy. The pimp, by the way, has all the best lines.
Definitely.
So there's one little throwaway line when he sees the chick on the stage, like the one who said in Slash Up, and he says, "Would you get out of my way? Holy shit, she's a friend of mine." There you go. But the best line of all is this one. He goes, "She's right. She put on that mask and scratched herself. Get it? Because of that scratch, she became a demon, an instrument of evil, like they said in that damn movie. You heard him." Like he's saying way too much. And
way too much.
Like he's saying he's basically being the scriptwriter. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, where did he get the word demon from? Like that
exactly.
Like we don't know what these things are, but he's like, she became a demon, from the movie we're watching.
Like the mask didn't give it away.
Yeah, that's right. No, but he's even angry as well. He's like, she put on that mask and scratched herself. Get it? Because of that scratch, she became a demon. An instrument of evil. I think that second part, instrument, appears twice in the movie, I think.
Right.
I've heard it more than once. So it was good. If you enjoy what we do here on the New Flesh podcast, there are a number of ways you can contribute to the success of the show. Consider supporting us financially by becoming a Patreon member and donating monthly or yearly. Alternatively, you can donate money through the Buy Me a Coffee platform. If you're strapped for cash at the moment, there are other ways to support the New Flesh. You can give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. These really do help others find our show and help spread the word. Or you can just simply tell your friends about us. Back to the show.
What did you think of the ending? Like, I love the apocalyptic ending, but I was a bit disappointed that the chick got killed at the end and not the bloke.
Oh.
That Cheryl got.
Is that because you're a pig, or?
Well, I think it comes back to that final girl thing that we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
But that's why these movies are special, I guess, is because they really don't care, and like they are that's a big move. Like to like the rules are, and this was really successful, this movie. So this movie, in many ways, broke all the rules. Like it was just like, here's this person you've been in that way. It's true to itself as well. It ends in a really rock and roll way. Like it doesn't really care about what's come before. And it's just like always pushing it. Like, of course you want the hot girl to live. We always want the hot girl to live. but this was just like, nah.
The ending, the feeling of the ending reminds me a lot of a film that you and I both like called The Beyond.
Oh yes,
which ends with like the two leads just they end up in this sort of
wasteland.
Wasteland realm, sort of in between the afterlife and life, and they're just aimlessly walking around in this sort of weird smoky wasteland, and that's how it ends. Like they're just forever trapped in this no man's land.
Another lunatic, Lucio Fulci, just another absolute lunatic, you know. So,
but these Italian horror films, they don't mind being sexy, which is something that as we know, the American ones shy away from because they find, you know, the sex and the violence together is too much for them.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, Argento's proven he'll go right to he'll just say, he'll even put his daughter on display for you. He'll go, I don't care. Here you go. Look at us, yeah. We all will. Yeah, no, look, it's yeah. Argento, I feel like, you know, this is definitely one of the best of his canon, I think. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you know, not to say it's the best thing Lamberto Bava, the director, has ever done. That's for sure. I've seen his other stuff, and most of it's incomprehensible. This at least hangs together. It looks good. It sounds good. You know, it's a real ride. You know, and Argento, you know, I think this is definitely up there with the best of his. You know,
do you think it's the most commercial of his?
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's very late though. I guess. Well, it's middle career. It's 80, so it's the same year of maybe or thereabouts as Phenomena with Jennifer Connelly. So that
did quite well. I think.
Yeah. It's a real transformation because it's very different to Suspiria and Profondorosso, the early stuff, you know, or the very early stuff, Blood and Black Lace or whatever. Or did he do Blood and Black Lace? No, he did a different one. So anyway, it's definitely it's really polished and he's grown and changed, and sort of like we've shifted away from, you know, that the sound of Suspiria into this, you know, this heavy metal stuff, you know what I mean? Like and which is an interesting pivot, you know, and I think he's totally in touch with, everyone has their moment, you know, and I feel like in the 80s, like he was in touch with, you know, which is Sheila's era really, and she was sort of the target market in a way, and I guess these movies like Phenomena and Demons really are totally of the minute, you know, totally MTV generation, all that heavy metal, and really plugged in. Would have been seen as a package from an outsider, and their parents, they just would have been terrified. The parents, they would have just been going, "What the fuck is this? This is the most demonic film I've ever seen. It's disgusting. It's horrific. Like the music is, because I mean that older generation, you know, the parents of the Gen Xers, they were horrified by rock and roll, by heavy metal, like that. They thought that was satanic in and of itself. So whereas these movies really revel in it, you know, and we get that scene which I mentioned, which I think sums up the whole movie, which is George riding with Cheryl on the back of a motorcycle. He's wielding a samurai sword, and we get that heavy metal track going as he's slashing up the demons, and we've got all these, you know, sort of colorful lights, and there's demons like literally like launching themselves, like across the screen. I call this, you know, this is when movies do that special thing, cinegasm. You know, just comes together in this way that you just go, oh my god, like I can't put into words what's happening right now, you know.
I've got a nice little snippet here from Argento. So he felt that demons reflected the hysteria that he felt was present in the youth at the time. And he says, I wanted the on-screen violence to affect the audience badly. As I traveled around Europe, I feel a tension, not only in film, but in music and on a street level too. Something is happening. Exactly what, I don't know. Perhaps a new era of protest and rebellion. This nervous energy is on the screen in Demons as the nightmare proportions of the plot escalate. If you escape from a nightmare, you are certain everything's okay. Here, it's not quite like that. When you escape, it's worse.
Yeah, well, what does he think about the new revolution? Does he think the new one's good? Does he think that the cultural revolution is happening now is good?
It's checked out.
I don't know. I think he's pretty out of touch, probably.
He's out of touch,
but it's different. It's different in like France and Italy. Like they don't give a shit about all this woke stuff. Like
no,
you know, I think they're a little bit shielded from it.
Yeah. Well, it really is an American export. You know, and now we're all on campus now, as they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting that he's but then again, he's never been good at putting into words what is going on in his films or why he's doing it. And
that's right. Yeah.
Like I'm listening to that and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what any of that means.
Exactly.
And
well, that's like the first time I saw Suspiria. It came with a like a to camera introduction from Argento, and I remember thinking, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And like I didn't know anything about Argento or his films or whatever, and because he looks like a really strange dude as well, like physically he's really strange looking. And I was just like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
It's powerful though, isn't it? Just to be able to say mad shit, do mad shit on cinema and get away with it.
That's right.
Like it was successful.
Oh, totally. And he did it more than once. Like he's like just
it's
totally,
amazing.
It's totally worked. He's made some unforgivable turkeys. Like, and he doesn't care. Actually, Ricky, I want you to tell me the story about your trip to Rome.
Oh yes, I went to I went to Rome on a holiday. Well, a big European trip, but I went to Rome, and there's a museum / I guess memorabilia shop called Profondorosso, which is like an homage to Argento, and the guy who runs it's a guy called Luigi Cozzi.
It's owned by Argento.
It's owned by Argento, yeah, and it's run by a guy called Luigi Cozzi, and he was a producer on a bunch of Argento films, and so yeah, I went there like on a Sunday thinking I'd be able to get in, and he was there. Cozzi was there meeting another guy. They were talking about scripts or something. Like I just walked in and he just kind of looked at me really weird. He's like, "We're closed." I was like, "Oh, okay. Will you be open tomorrow?" And so we came back, and anyway, so I came back and I talked to him about a few things, and I said how much I loved Giallo films, and I was from Australia, and he's like, yes, some people, they make a pilgrimage to Rome to see the Colosseum, others come to Profondorosso. And he's like, would you like to see the museum downstairs? I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to. And he's like, that'll be €3. It's like, okay. So you go down and it's like this totally like shitty ghost train thing, like without the train, either, right? You just walk through. It's not big, no, and it's got props and stuff from various films like Phenomena and Suspiria and stuff like that, and just lights that like colorful lights that glow, and sound effects that are triggered when you walk past and stuff like that. But it's billed as this amazing museum to Argento, and it's just as shitty as some of.
Is it sort of pushing the word museum to its limits?
It is.
For tax purposes.
Yeah, that'd be more realistic.
Yeah.
So on your recommendation, when I went to Rome, I went to Profondorosso. And I went in there, and thankfully the museum was closed. So I didn't get to go. But I went in there and, because I used to be really into all this particular genre and for various reasons. And obviously I love the best of it now, even still, and I'll defend all of that. And, I think it is what the greats are great and everything like that. But I went in there and it was a big experience, because like I walked so far. We were staying sort of relatively near the Colosseum, and we walked I walked all the way there. We didn't want to catch taxis because now I'm sorry. Look, I'm sure
it's miles away from the Colosseum.
It is, but like we were already on a big trip, and like anyway, it took me ages to get there, and I didn't want to catch a taxi because like why is everyone got to be such a scammer in Rome? Yeah. Why so much scams? You know what I mean?
Not appreciate the shakedown.
Oh, the taxis are ridiculous. They basically, rob you on the street like before you get into the taxi. Anyway, so I went there and it was so depressing. Like I just went in there and there was some BBW with black hair behind the counter, like going out for a fag every now and then. And it was just like, it was so depressing. I was just like, yeah, I got to knock all this on the head. Like, like I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go to the Trevi Fountain or something, like check out something.
Go see the Pantheon.
Yeah, whatever. Like, whereas this was just, I think Cozzi should tell people to go to the Pantheon instead.
Yeah,
He should say, "Don't go to the shitty museum."
And isn't it just so crammed with every
Garbage.
shitty piece of horror memory, even stuff that's not Argento's,
Even stuff that's
you know.
like just like there'll be like just a scarecrow mask. And
yeah,
like,
or there'll be there'll be Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, and there'll be
oh no, but there'll be a witch costume.
yes, yeah, like the
Oh.
shittiest of shitty stuff.
The
yeah.
worst sort of $2 store stuff as well.
This sounds terrible.
No, JJ, it was not good. Like it was really bad, So it sort of like gave me, because you know me. The worst thing I can report when I do some of these things is come back to you and say I had like an existential moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this was one of those times where I was like, oh my God, like I felt like I was dying, and I was like, okay, this is good.
Your dreams were shattered.
No, it wasn't good. And, because, well, it's so disappointing because Rome no one warned me that Rome was going to not be very good. You know what I mean? And it's such a shame because the art from previous eras, in particularly cinema, like the Italians in the mid 20th century owned like cinema. Like they were just unparalleled, art. And it's such a shame that, there's such shittiness going on there.
You came back so disappointed.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good, So, but I hear that other parts of the country are better,
Yeah, I really dug Florence.
Yeah. Yes, people talk about Florence. I went to Venice. I really recommend Venice. And particularly to bring it back to Argento, particularly because so much there's a bunch of giallo films, those Italian horror films that are sort of set in Venice, or they do parts of them in Venice. And so, when you go there, it was totally worth it. In fact, the people who didn't warn me about Rome all told me not to go to Venice.
Oh.
They were totally wrong. Like what's wrong with these people? Like, there's scam stores in Venice, but just don't go to the scam stores. Just walk around and look at. It's fucking amazing. It's a city built like on sand, like in the middle of the ocean. Like it's amazing, and it's like there's like no trees, and it's like a city of death, And I don't know. It was glorious. And so. I mean, it was unfortunate that Katie caught coronavirus there, but that it was fresh from Wuhan as well.
Yeah, you got the early stuff.
Oh, mate, I got I was there on the ground floor. I got the real stuff. This shit that they're talking about now is old hat. Okay, I got the pure junk, and I remember Katie and I went on a walking tour in Rome, and I was really fascinated by this tour, and it was late at night. The guy, it just went on, and I was like wanting to stay out, and she had coronavirus. I didn't know, we didn't have a name for it at that point. And she was dying like in front of my, like just going, oh my God, I need to go home. And I was like really angry at her. I was like,
let's push on.
I was like, just go stay out. The longer this is really interesting,
Yes.
So I forced her to stay out until she almost fell over. And then when I caught it off her, I felt very bad that I'd made her stay out.
Fuck. And you guys spread it far and wide.
Yeah, I took it to Osaka, unfortunately. And it was like that scene in Outbreak in the cinema. So anyway, that's my trip to Rome. But yes, Profondorosso, it's not good. So we haven't given people a very good advertisement for Profondorosso, the store.
No, don't go there.
Don't go there. But if you're from Australia, I recommend going to Rome, and instead just going to get some of their cold and flu tablets with pseudoephedrine in them. They're like, they've got stuff in them that we're not allowed to have, Yeah. And it was good. Got the good stuff. So just do that instead.
Yeah.
So, the music. We talk about the music.
Simonetti.
Claudio.
Simonetti. Yeah, well, we saw him play with Goblin a few years ago. He came here. What was it, for the festival? Did he come here for the Melbourne International Film Festival?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they had a concert where they just kind of played the hits, but then they did a live.
On the biggest organ in the Southern Hemisphere.
That's right, yeah, the Melbourne Town Hall organ, which is so big it has a bathroom inside of it.
Really?
It does.
Wow.
Yeah, so if your organist needs to take a piss, he actually goes inside the organ to do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, he played on that, and the concert was pretty good. But the real treat was that he and the gang played the soundtrack for Suspiria live to the film, which was better than the soundtrack that exists on the actual film. It was really good.
No, it was a real experience.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Simon Eddy, he's collaborated with Argento on stacks of his films and took the horror soundtrack genre in a different direction. You know, he comes from a sort of a prog rock background, sort of like a fusion jazz background, and really steered it away from, because prior to that, I think Morricone did a couple of the early Argento films, and then since then it's been Simon Eddy all the way, I think. But yeah, more of the rock influence, which gives it that orgiastic sound to it, you know.
It was really cool.
It makes it more thrilling and driving, rather than scary, you know.
Like really gets you going. You know?
Yeah, that's right. And his band Goblin, you know, they're famous around the world for the soundtracks that they've done. They've done mostly soundtracks. It's kind of all they've done. Because I think they started out as a straight band called, I think they're called Cherry 5, I think, if that's correct, which is a shitty name.
It's not good.
It's terrible.
And then they became Goblin. Well, they were probably Cherry 5, like sort of the tail end of
disco or something.
Yeah, or even, because I'd say probably late 60s, early 70s. So it's a throwback to that. But yeah, then they became Goblin and just did spooky rock soundtracks for Argento films. And yeah, it's good. I love it. Yeah, check out Goblin. It's good.
And paired with these other tracks, we even get Go West, We Close Our Eyes in this, which is nice. And Billy Idol and Motley Crue.
Yeah.
You know, they've really made a statement because the bands are listed at the beginning.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. So I was pumped from the get-go.
Yeah, it's interesting. Films don't really do that, do they? Make such a big deal about songs, do they?
No. I think this has got one of the more epic soundtracks, like Last American Virgin.
I think Saturday Night Fever does that. It has it lists the songs at the start, maybe. Is that right?
Maybe. Oh, because it's been too long since I've seen it, but I think the Bee Gees get a big shout out.
I think so. Yeah, but yeah, they make a big deal of it in the trailer as well.
Yeah, well, I guess it's that generation. They're like, because you couldn't imagine it being in the 70s. You couldn't imagine that would be something to get young people in. But that really is one of the things I think that maybe it becomes an experience. You know, you go to the theater, have like this vivid, you know, slime and blood soaked rock show experience. You know, I kind of want this back a little bit, like, you know, like it's I love the idea, just like I did with the Friday the 13th. I love the idea of teens going to these movies and you know, sort of having these cathartic experiences, you know, as opposed to going and watching the fucking Infinity Gauntlet being put together by that purple little idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, why are they watching this childish shit? You know?
I know.
And that's all that's available.
It is.
I think the closest I've ever come to like going with a whole bunch of friends to see something like Friday the 13th or, you know, films like that saw the Blair Witch Project.
Me too.
With a bunch of friends.
Amazing.
And that was a similar experience where we were all freaking each other out. And I haven't seen that film for the longest time. I think I only saw it at the cinema once, and that was it. I remember seeing the sequel on DVD.
The Book of Shadows.
Yeah. Which was totally different film.
Directed by the Paradise Lost guy. Joe
Really?
Ballinger. Yes.
I didn't know that.
So there you go.
Well, I've got a nice quote here from I've actually owned an Argento book here called Profondo Argento.
Did you get that from Profondorosso?
No, I didn't actually. I got this in France.
Okay.
Strangely enough, because I just happened to bump into this amazing cinema bookstore there in France and saw this one, and it took my fancy. But this was originally a review published in Starburst It says Demons is packed full of grisly, inventive deaths, shock twists and turns, visual references to both Argento and Bava's auspicious heritage, and telling statements about the relationship between cinematic violence and its core audience. The masterstroke here, of course, is in using an actual cinema environment. Its double fiction element allows Argento and Bava free rein to delve into the movie buff's collective subconscious and mine every paranoid fear for all it's worth. Sitting in a cinema balcony will never be the same again. Yeah, that was a very favourable review, and contrast that with this one here from Kim Newman in Sight and Sound. She concluded that
It's a he.
It's a he. Okay.
It's gendered.
Oh.
Microaggression.
They concluded that both Demons and its sequel were chaotic, inconsistent, blithely indifferent to storytelling, and as prone to cack-handed, unintentional comedy as gross-out horror. These are guilty pleasures, but their demented glee makes them aptly ideal party horror movies.
Yeah, that guy is a famous cinema curmudgeon.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's one of these.
I feel like both reviews are accurate though. Like you put them both together and that's the film. You know,
The truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like you know, there are some people who've got the Demons T-shirt on, who will tell you that this movie, like that, the script is really good, and that the dialogue's great and the message is sound. And then there are other people who will say it's the worst movie ever, but you know the VFX are really good. So I think if you like sort of put it all together, yeah, you can actually go, yes, I think I can see what this movie actually is.
So do we have any Me Too crimes in this one?
Yeah, we do. So what we have is a range of issues to cover. Preppy sex pests rewarded. So when George rescues Cheryl's Coke from the Coke vending machine, he says, sometimes all it takes is the right touch. Okay, so I'll translate. He means a pussy. Okay, so
she smiled.
He smiled because he's saying, I'm going to touch you on the pussy, and I don't care whether you want it or not. So that's what he's saying. I'm here to guide you through this. So next up, horror movie triggers heteronormative coupling. So the pure-hearted couple, they're getting hot and heavy together. That's the one that the usherette sort of catches in the act. George and our preppy, George, our preppy sex pest, makes massive gains with Cheryl. He's grooming her, okay? It's as bad as anything you've heard, really. So, you know, all I can say is get on your pussy hats and hit the streets because George is coming for you next. Okay? Naughty niece nailed. So blind man's niece is a horny little coos who leaves her disabled uncle to have sex with her lover in the stalls. I mean, I think that speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he's gross.
And he's gross. I don't know look, I'm not quite sure what the rules are when he's gross. Like, you know, if he's hot, is that a bigger crime than he's gross? I don't know. You know, either way, it's patriarchal is what I'm saying. It's not good. Next up, Nina likes it rough. So street tough girl gets a razor blade dragged lightly across her breast, triggering weird chubbies. Which, as we've discussed, is a big no-no. big no-no. Finally, there was no LGBT representation in this movie. No non-binary people, no queers or anything. So not one. You know, not one demon had a lady dick. You know, there was horns and slime, but there was not one man pussy or lady dick. And as we know, you know, all eras must conform to the rules we made up 3 minutes ago. So this movie is damned and disgusting. But on the Me Too scale, what would we rate this out of 10?
I reckon it's middle of the road.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I'm giving it 5, probably.
I feel like it's sort of around the 5, heading towards 6. I can see where you get 6.
There's no one really, there's no hero that we're gunning for that hard that is a sex pest. You know?
Like I think Mahoney is worse. like because he's charming and great, and you go, oh, he's great, and then he's just, you know, telling people to Oh, he's like, going up behind Kim Cattrall and sort of like humiliating her and trying to get her into bed and stuff. And that's worse because you're sort of like, oh, I want to be Mahoney.
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, I'm like, I don't
You want to be the three guys in the car.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the Me Too scale.
Well, you don't want to be Tony the pimp?
Well,
I liked Tony.
he was all right. He turned out to be quite heroic. I mean, that's the thing. He's a businessman. He's assertive. So he knew what he was doing. Good with his hands. So that's the Me Too scale. Anything else to report on Demons? No. I think the reason we're is because it's sort of, I think this is the natural end to our Spooktacular. I think we can recommend this film, but at the end of the day, there are, there's only so far we can push this.
It's true.
It is. You should just watch it or don't.
Or don't. Yeah.
Or don't.
Either way, you just live your life.
Yeah. Just watch it or do something else.
And if you watch it, watch it with the English dub. Is that right? I
would recommend the English dub, definitely.
Don't do what I did.
No, well, you let your snobbery get to you, and you were like, "Oh, I will only watch it in its original language." Yes. All right. So, final thought. Okay, Demons, a disgusting, deranged date movie, will definitely deliver sexual intercourse to you, because you watch it with someone and they'll fuck you. You get it?
I like it.
It's good.
It's sort of a bit of circuitous, but I'm trying to give you all the information you need. Anyway, all right, moving on from our Spooktacular. Next week, I think we're gonna go where we belong, to the films of Joe Esterhaus. I feel like we should start with Sliver.
Yeah.
Great.
What do you think? Go to Sliver? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Sharon Stone, Sliver. That's what we'll do next week.
Are we doing Showgirls?
Definitely. We'll build up to Showgirls.
Ooh.
And AJ, you haven't seen Showgirls?
No.
Oh, I can't wait till you see this movie.
It's going to be great.
I think it's going to be your favorite movie.
Really?
I think
it could be.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, we said what we said.
Yep. I'm good.
I did use the word coos.
You did, and I loved it.
You don't hear a lot. I feel like when they go over these tapes, like the Nixon tapes, that one will come back to haunt me.
You said the word pussy a lot too.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't go out much today. So,
pussy on the brain.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, I'll just have to. No, I'm unapologetic. Let's leave it at that.
Long live the new flesh.
Long live the new flesh. He means a pussy. I'm going to touch you on the pussy. Get on your pussy hat. Man pussy.
Pussy on the brain. I'm old Greg.